Hello, my name is Zachary Freeman, and I'm here to give you an update after I posted my videos not too terribly long ago chronicling how Oglethorpe University has responded to me attempting to find justice for being sexually assaulted on campus. If you've watched the videos, their response may bewilder and surprise you, though it doesn't actually surprise me anymore. Because after explaining how I was falsely accused of being an active shooter threat and showing other students joking about school shootings and how nothing was done about it, Dean Michelle Hall has decided to accuse me of being a violent threat to the university, and I am now banned from going on campus. Again, this doesn't surprise me. The reason why is this sort of pulls out of Michelle Hall's repertoire. I also went over a bit in both the podcast I was in my videos that gaslighting is kind of the modus operandi that she and other members of the university use against people who speak out. And this is part of that pattern. Projection, lying, confusion. On the screen now, I will post up a very controversial yet famous figure who uses some of the same tactics. For example, let's go through some of these that are on screen together. So they tell blatant lies. Well, in previous statements that were made by Michelle Hall and the recordings that were in the previous videos, she insinuated that the university was above the law in saying that, well, there's the courts and then there's us, but they're not above the law, and there are actually quite many regulations in which the university has violated in going through this. And part of the gaslighting is telling other people that I am mentally unstable and schizophrenic when I am not. And multiple therapists and psychiatric professionals have cleared me of that and have instead diagnosed me with PTSD from my experiences at the university. They deny they ever said something, even though you have proof. This actually came up behind closed doors. It's kind of difficult to do, but like a lot of the recordings I have I actually chose out of the many hours of recordings I have specifically because those are things that she specifically said she did not say to other members of the university, even though I had proof. And I don't think that they believed I was recording. I don't know why, but I think they just thought that I was making that up, which is a really bad bet to make. I wouldn't bet on someone not doing something like that, especially when it's completely legal to do in Georgia, and it's very easy to do with modern technology. They use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. This is very, very common. So Oglethorpe University and my academic success there was very near and dear to me. It was probably the happiest I ever was my entire life. And I was constantly threatened with being kicked off that campus if I spoke up. And on top of that, multiple times, anytime I attempted to fight having the title line against me, which is totally irregular and against regulations to even attempt to do, they threatened to cancel the title line against my attacker. So multiple things have been used as a hostage against me over and over again as I've attempted to fight this. They wear you down over time. That's exactly, I've been fighting this for 3 years, most people would have walked away at this point, and they've done this to so many people. I've had my therapist go, hey, is this actually worth your time? You need to really consider whether or not this is, because, this has occupied a large amount of your time for 3 years since it happened. And it has, and I do reconsider that all of the time, but I'm still in the fight, aren't I? Making this video, right? Their actions don't match their words. That's really clear here. So in this statement that was sent to me, Michelle Hall is signaling there's a hypocritical response going on here. She's trying to combat the assertion that I've made and proven that she doesn't do enough to prevent potential school shootings. But then what she's actually doing is she's, only, artificially, sort of in a backhanded and lying the essence of the truth way, punishing the one person speaking out about how unsafe the campus is. I throw in positive reinforcement to confuse you. This happened all the time when I would meet with her. She would say I was a brilliant student and whatnot, and then she would like occasionally like give me support and then assigned me a random person to walk me to the class, and then she even did it herself a handful of times and helped me move out of my apartment, physically handling my property, but then giving it to some of my attackers because she didn't know any better. That's a, hey, I'm your friend, right? And then it's sort of like, the confusion, which is number 7, is used to sort of weaken somebody and make it so that you don't really know how to react. They project, which is exactly what's going on here. And in many other instances, I was accused of being crazy and stalking people. Well, guess what? How insane is that? I was reporting people for stalking me. I'm accused of being a violent threat on campus by taking a small snippet of what I said wildly out of opposite context of what I was talking about. Well, there you go. Projection is a common tactic that many people who use gaslighting do to damage their opponent's position. It's very effective. A lot of people are not very savvy on being able to handle this, which is very sad. And it's also horrendously hypocritical and ironic. Part of our core program and part of like the rhetoric studies of many of the philosophers studied in our core program at Oglethorpe are meant to deal with such attacks like projection. They try to align people against you. This was common. Let's get your on-school therapist together. Let's get her to tacitly approve that you're crazy. Let's talk to your academic advisor that had been supporting you and meeting with you privately, and get him to gang up on you in a meeting about you writing about what's going on online. Very, very much, how she operates and what many other students have said that she has done to them when they have reported being sexually assaulted, being stalked, or any other conduct code violation against somebody who she is attempting to protect. They tell you or others that you are crazy. Well, I have an entire video dedicated to dealing with that. It has been insane how much I've been called insane. It has been so damaging to me and my psychological well-being. If enough people call you crazy, you start to believe it. You start to think, am what I am doing right now, is that something a crazy person would do? And when I was actually on the street, I was like so, I guess, self-conscious as do I come across as a crazy person if someone would see me. Like, it really occupied a lot of like my mental RAM. It gets under your skin no matter how thick-skinned you think you are. It's awful. And they tell everyone else they tell you everyone else is a liar. She did that a couple of times too. Telling me other people would just say those sorts of things and whatnot in a couple of other instances. It's crazy how similar Michelle Hall is to Donald Trump, because she's trying to hold on to power. She holds on to power via coercion. She is not very skilled. I mean, let's take a step back for a second. I'm a student who has been so slighted by her inability to handle a student conduct issue in which I came to her and told her that we could resolve this if everyone just apologized and mediated instead of going through the process, and it would all just go away. And I am now making a YouTube series that has the school in the video. And let's be real, one of her primary job functions, whether or not it's written, is to protect the school's image. Well, that's not a real good way to protect the school's image, is that all you're doing is pushing somebody to speak out on a public platform about how poor of a job you're doing and how unsafe the school is. And I'm not the only person who complained about her inability to do her job on a basic level. No one will probably admit this for fear of their job, because she is essentially second in command of that entire university. But a lot of people would, when I was in better standing with professors, would tell me in private she was a complete moron. And that she had no idea what she was doing, and she was completely unqualified and incapable of doing any of the things that she was doing. And this is a common problem throughout the entire university. She was wearing too many hats. Like, she was doing many of the administrative things that a dean should not do, and she was doing all of them poorly, and she couldn't do one of them correctly if that were focus, but she was doing all of them divided amongst them incredibly poorly. And this is a symptom of that too. There's a good chance that she didn't watch those videos, and someone else came to her, and then they spitballed in a meeting how they could deflect, what to do about Zach. So they took a snippet out of what I said entirely out of context. And let me express to you right now in the clearest form possible, I am a pacifist. I would never resort to violence. The entire point of what I'm doing is so I'd make the university safer, so they would take things like this way more seriously and do their jobs. I would never shoot up the school, and I abhor those who do. And something I would like to talk more about is that, so they took me, they took a visibly white, older male, isolated him, and then protected those harassing him. And I've been in that position where I'm like really angry at authority because they've wronged me and a large group of people. So I know what it feels to be in that position where you hate the world. And what I'm telling anybody out there who listens who might be thinking of doing anything violent, don't do it. It's not worth it. Your voice is way more powerful. I said this in the podcast, that a cell phone is way more powerful than a gun. Information is a real and way more valuable and valid weapon in a righteous fight. My heroes are Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi and Thomas Thoreau. I have been thinking about organizing a protest, a hunger strike. I would never, ever do that. It would discredit everything that I'm talking about, because like the main goal is that I reported some of these students for joking about me being shot, for joking about causing racial violence, for trying to harm themselves. I care about those students. All those people that I'm mad at, those students, my attacker, the person who sexually assaulted me, I want them to heal and grow. I wanted an apology and an enriching environment for them to realize what they're doing is wrong. And part of why I'm so angry at Michelle Hall is because she has reinforced this terrible behavior, and they think that they have a right to do this to me and to anyone else, and will go, and probably have been, torturing other people in the same way. An opportunity was lost to teach a lesson and to better these people. That's what Oglethorpe should stand for. It's what an educational institution, especially one that forces everybody to learn Aristotle and Socrates. Aristotle, who said that the only justice is educational, not punitive. You have to read that to graduate. That's required reading at Oglethorpe. And that's what I stand for. And it's abhorrent to me that she would, attempt to paint me as anything other than that. And by taking it so narrowly out of context. So in this video, right after this, I'm going to play some of the snippets from the videos in which I talk about those issues, and, to highlight what I really meant. Is what they do to sexual assault victims like myself. And it's not just me, but what happened to me is extreme because I was a man who was sexually assaulted by a girl. But they've done it to other victims too. Victim blaming is the modus operandi of the administration of that school, particularly Dean Hall. She's devious. As far as they call her the brick wall. If you want anything done, she just her job is to find new and inventive ways to not do her job. It's incredibly frustrating if you have a real serious issue of any kind, and then she'll pretend to be your friend for 1 or 2 sessions with her, and then she'll come back with "Aren't you confused? Do you not remember what happened? That's wrong. That doesn't sound like him. He wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that." All the time. Same story from anybody who's run across her the wrong way. and then she'll bring your attacker in the room. Did it to me. Not my attacker, actually, just one of the harassing students. But in other instances, other students told me about it being their attacker. And then suddenly be on the defense to make you not make noise, to bury the problem.
Facebook, regardless if it's a private message or not, is a public platform.
Right, so there's the court system and then there's us.
And when you're all alone, especially if you're in your early 20s and you're a traditional student, you don't have a lot of life experience, and especially further if you've lived an incredibly sheltered life and you've never had to fight for your own rights, it's really easy to get railroaded by her. And it's really easy to get railroaded by Dean Palder, who will get up in your face and just, aggressively occupy your space and anything you have to say. And they work sort of like good cop, bad cop on students who, not students who do bad things, but students who report bad things. And that is the scariest part of this, and why I think I'll probably title the video "Oglethorpe is not safe," because it's not safe. If there's a serious problem with a student, if a student seriously was going to shoot the school up, they're not going to do anything about it until it's too late. I'm going to tell you this right now. I had threats of physical violence hurled at me, and people joking about me being shot. People who own firearms, which is not a problem, and I've owned firearms in the past, so I'm not on the anti-gun bandwagon by any means. But students who owned firearms near or on campus, who had all the hallmarks, psychological traits, and threats of action, including joking about Columbine. I'm going to see if I can dig up those conversations. I may not have them anymore, but we'll see if I can put those on screen. I might not have those anymore. But joking about the Columbine shooting openly, and then, destroying other property, being isolated, doing drugs, and withdrawing. All of the signs of someone who would be a shooter. Yeah, they've been reported, and they did nothing, but they punished the people who reported them, and mostly me. And that's what this is about. It's about punishing me for destroying people's images, because image is the most important thing if you're wealthy.
Damn. Mostly I was smart. And I'm not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice, but in Georgia, one-party consent state with audio. You can be the party that consents.
I was actually going to ask about that earlier. I didn't know what the laws were in Georgia about recording people's conversations.
Yeah, it is one of the most relaxed places to do that. So as long as you're in the recording somewhere and you're a participant, completely legal.
Okay.
So you can.
I mean, that sounds fair to me.
Yeah. So it's audio or video. You have to ask permission with some exceptions. Excuse me. But for audio, it's game on, and I use that to well effect and record everything. You have this incredible device in your pocket that humans have never had, with access to information on an instant basis that humanity has never had access to before. It is your greatest weapon. Use it. It is so much more powerful than a gun can ever be. Yeah. I wield it like a sword every day. What I did, if you look at my Facebook photo, you'll see I'm wearing a blazer, and people thought I was a professor all the time because I have a blazer. There's a reason why I wear a blazer. It has a breast pocket, and because it has a breast pocket, I could just flip my phone on record and put it in my breast pocket all day. It's comfortable, and it's at perfect height to record audio.
All right, that definitely works.
Yeah.
What kind of phone is it? Does it have a really good microphone?
This is a old ass Galaxy S5 because I'm poor. It has a replaceable battery. I have the extended batteries with it. I have replacement batteries I carry in my backpack every day, and an extended battery charge, which all was very cheap for me to obtain. So it worked great. Didn't need anything fancy.
Well, I'm rocking the Galaxy Fortuna.
Yeah.
So that thing's probably even worse than the Galaxy 5.
Yeah. So you could do this on a Fortuna. You can do this on any smartphone, basically. If you had an old fucking BlackBerry, it would work. So you could definitely do it. You can go get yourself a burner phone, and you can probably find a way to make this work.
So all you boomers out there, pull out your T-Mobile sidekicks and just start recording.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I talked to my roommate for a second and jumped back in, and I heard you guys talking, so I didn't know what the segue had gone into.
So that's what I'm saying. But the segue is, he said he felt weak. Do not feel weak. You could do this. You could win, and you have the power, and you have more power than human history you've ever had to fight a larger entity than yourself. And the access to the internet and a smartphone is an amazing magical tool.
And they called me crazy. I also did 3 police reports where they all got kicked back internally to move over to Brookhaven PD just across from the school, and had a detective call me crazy. Well, not really call me crazy directly as much as tell me that it's not worth anyone's time. Lie and say that some of the things they were doing wasn't against the law. Deflect everything. And he had brought me into an interrogation room to do it. Tried to probe me to see if there's a way that he can get me in trouble. It's an awful, awful experience.
Being able to prove harassing communications, with social media is a whole other ballgame. Yeah. Having to prove that these people are actually reaching out to other people, to defame you, that would be defamation of character, which is again a civil matter. Yeah. Stalking you, I can understand where you would feel like it's a stalking, but the elements of the crime of stalking are very specific. Okay. So, a judge ain't gonna give me a warrant for that. It sounds more like a cyberbullying thing, but it's also not a real charge. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I know hazing's a charge, but I don't know if this meant. Yeah.
Right. That wouldn't fall under that. The only thing that I can tell you at this point is that it appears that you've taken the matters as far as you could, as far what you're doing with the school.
Right.
And making sure that in all of this, you don't lose your head.
Right.
And do anything stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
absolutely.
that's going to be a major concern as well. Understand that if the school feels like this guy's suing us, so he's obviously pissed off. Is he going to get pissed off to the point where he's unstable? Yeah. And is he going to be a threat? And then you don't want them doing a threat assessment on you. And has that not already happened?
They've already tried to do that, and that was horrible. That was horrifying. They tried to do that, and they tried to. Again, there's a defamation case involving one of the administrators because she took that way too far.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That red flags you, and then when it red flags you to law enforcement, we don't know what the heck's going on. All we're going is by what the school is telling us. So now, not only are you having to deal with all these people looking at you kind of weird, now you have to worry about dealing about security and law enforcement, worried about whether or not, hey, is this going to be our next active shooter?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So just be real careful as to how you handle it, what you say to certain people out of anger or anything.
When you're the whipping boy, it sticks. And that's just the lowest thing. The big thing was that he's crazy. And crazy and potentially violent was one of the things they tried to get me on. So they called me in like an active shooter. Thankfully, the head of security on campus, he was a good guy and still is. I wish he would do more. But his hands are tied by the administration, who specifically is like, you will lose your job if you do more. So I get it. I get his position sucks. But the only reason why I'm probably even still alive today is because he treated this really well. He was like, are you on campus right now? I happen not to be. As a part of, to deal with the defamation, because they claimed I was stalking people, they claimed I was harassing people, they claimed I was trying to rape people. They did all of that after I had accused someone else of rape. They threw it all back on me, and because I'm a guy, it was more easily believable. Knowing this would happen, one, as I had said before in the podcast, I began recording myself every single day, just mic always on. Two, I turned, against everything I know in IT security, I turned every protection on my phone off. So it constantly tracked my movements. And I backed up my Google user data. And if you do that, you can actually go into Google Maps and it'll show you where you're like walking every day. it's terrible. It also sort of implies that that data is always kept, you know? So there's the privacy violation there. But there's tons of articles right now. I've written about that professionally. You can go find more information about that somewhere else. It was actually beneficial in this instance. I turned that on so I could prove where I was in any period of time. So anytime, and this happened multiple times, Hall and Palder, mostly Hall, would call me in, hey, are you stalking people? I'm like, here's where I was. Tell me when and where. I did that in front of my academic advisor. It's how I, at least at the time, got him on my side, because I was able to prove that I was nowhere near where they said I was. And in this instance, it was useful too. Not only did I do that, I kept a routine. There was a bar in the adjacent shopping center that was empty during the day, and then a very nice tabletop, and they had outlets underneath the bar. And I could do schoolwork there, and most of the students didn't go there. Like, they'd come occasionally on Friday night. They actually didn't come there very often. Mostly business people went there. Got to know the people who worked there really well, and did not have the money to buy any food or drink a lot of the time, so I was infamous for being a soda drinker. And I just don't like that stuff anyway. Oh, that reminds me, they also accused me of being an alcoholic. Very weird. So the other part of my racial background is that I'm 1/4 Muskogee, and I know what you're going to say. A lot of white people say that. I am, and with it comes all the baggage of alcoholism, which is there, and the military background that my family is a part of sort of incorporates that. So I don't like to drink that much. I like going to social places like bars a lot, but I'll sip on my one Jack and Coke for the rest of the evening, you know. And the students know that, because I'd make drinks for the students who were of age. And they'd be like, where's your drink, Zach? And I'm like, you know what? Soda's nice. Though they knew that wasn't true. But I did spend a lot of my time in a bar in this instance, and it was useful because I'd gotten to know the people who worked there well enough that they could vouch for me being there, and there was 2 functional security cameras that could record where I was in any period of time. In this instance, it was key because I happened to be there at the time, and you know, the director of security emails me and is like, where are you right now? And I'm like, I'm at the bar. You know, I'm within walking distance of the school, but I've been here for hours in between classes working on stuff in between 2 security cameras, and I recorded where I am, and you know this already, so what's up? And he's like, that's what I thought. I need you to come in, tell me if you have a gun on you. I'd come in, and a lawyer would hate me for saying this. I actually said, you know, yeah, sure, you can search me. And he's like, you know what? I don't really even have to. Here's what's going on. They have accused you of having a gun and going to shoot up the school. Protocol says I should call the cops. What should have happened is I should have been swatted, is what they call it. What should have happened is that Brookhaven PD would come with fury. They would have had their SWAT trained units come in. I would have absolutely no idea what was going on had I been on campus. And they probably would, the situation could have easily escalated into an accidental shooting. I could have put my backpack down wrong, could have pulled out my cell phone. Hey, let me get my cell phone. He's going for a gun in his breast pocket. I could have died. And that's what they wanted. And no one was punished for it.
I love the flow of the podcast, and I love, because it sounds like you were really articulate in the things that you said and bringing justice to the situation and bringing a voice of reason to it. Total opposite to all of the BS that they put out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you said, we've got this tool, and it's more powerful than a gun any day.
Yeah.
You know, if you were a shooter is not going to say that.
Yeah.
You would totally be saying opposite.
Yeah.
But it's like you spoke of a man that is sane,
Yeah.
has his shit together. You know what I mean? And someone who was a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty, I was listening and everything. And I was like, oh, so that's so, like, opposite of them thinking, like, he's the shooter, huh? He's saying, like, information and all of this and technology is a greater tool, and using your voice is a greater tool than shooting. Look at that.
And it's horrifying and repugnant that she would do this. And I also want to illustrate as clearly as possible that I am terrified right now. Police responses have been terrible, and I was terrified when I was called in like an active shooter by the students, and Dwayne Smalls, the head of security, handled it really well. because I could have died. Because the police, to play devil's advocate, the police don't know what they're stepping into, and it's a very scary situation whenever they deal with a potential perpetrator. So I get why any wrong move could lead to an accidental shooting. Some of those are just tragic. It's not always the police's fault. But, some of times, they are. Juicing is a problem. Use of steroids and other drugs has been a problem that no one talks about in police responses have led to some of these shootings, as a general us versus them mentality. And I'm terrified right now that tomorrow or the day after I'm going to get a knock on our door, and it could start innocuously. They might just want to ask me a few questions, and accidentally putting my hand in my pocket. I'm not going to want to talk to them. An attorney's going to tell me, like, hey, you have to talk to my attorney, which is what anybody should do. I'm not an attorney. That's not legal advice, but that's, you could look up a lot of things on dealing with the police and learn that. And that might make them mad, and I might die. I might spend a weekend in jail and be killed by somebody who's in a jail cell. I could get roughed up, and have permanent bodily injury from this. This is serious. She has threatened effectively physical violence against me through the state. And that is her defense. That is her go-to defense for pointing out how poor of a job she has done. And let's not mince words. That's what this is. It is a scare tactic. It is bullying. It is terrorism against me for speaking out against the injustice and how she and the university have handled this. And honestly, all I've ever wanted from any of this was to have my life back, and speaking out about this on this and other platforms is just me attempting to make the world better for other students and, tell my story as a victim. This should never have happened. None of this should. And it's so awful. I hope that no one else ever has to go through this. God, I hope Michelle Hall is ashamed of herself from the way she's treated me. Thank you.